Have you ever wondered why NATO devotes enormous military resources to monitoring what appears to be nothing more than a vast expanse of cold water between Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom? On any ordinary map, the GIUK Gap seems insignificant, a remote stretch of the North Atlantic surrounded by icy seas, harsh weather, and isolated islands. Yet military planners regard it as one of the most strategically important maritime corridors in the world.
Before we move forward, please like and subscribe to Strategic Vanguard, and please share our videos to be updated with the latest news, reviews, and expert analysis from the world of defense and strategic affairs.
For decades, this narrow passage has determined whether Russian submarines could reach the open Atlantic, threaten NATO shipping, disrupt transatlantic supply lines, or even launch nuclear attacks from positions close to North America and Europe. As geopolitical rivalry intensifies once again and the North Atlantic returns to the forefront of strategic competition, understanding the GIUK Gap is essential to understanding modern naval warfare itself. The term GIUK Gap is derived from the first letters of Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom. Together, these landmasses form a natural maritime gateway, separating the Norwegian Sea and the Arctic Ocean from the wider Atlantic Ocean. Any Russian submarine departing its principal northern fleet bases on the Kola Peninsula and seeking unrestricted access to the Atlantic must either pass through this corridor or navigate even more challenging and heavily monitored routes. Geography therefore transforms the GIUK Gap into a natural bottleneck, where relatively limited naval and air assets can observe, track, and, if necessary, intercept vessels attempting to move between the Arctic and the Atlantic. Throughout history, geography has repeatedly shaped military strategy, and the GIUK Gap stands as one of the clearest examples of how nature itself can dictate the balance of power. The strategic importance of the GIUK Gap became evident during the Cold War, when the Soviet Union rapidly expanded its submarine fleet. Soviet nuclear-powered attack submarines and ballistic missile submarines represented a growing challenge to NATO's ability to reinforce Europe during a conflict. The alliance depended upon secure transatlantic sea lanes to transport troops, equipment, fuel, and supplies from North America to Europe. If Soviet submarines managed to enter the Atlantic undetected, they could attack merchant shipping, threaten aircraft carrier strike groups, and disrupt the logistical backbone of NATO's collective defense. Consequently, preventing Soviet submarines from freely crossing the GIUK Gap became a central objective of NATO's maritime strategy. To achieve this objective, NATO developed one of the most sophisticated underwater surveillance systems ever created. The Sound Surveillance System, commonly known as SUS, consisted of extensive arrays of underwater hydrophones strategically placed along the ocean floor. These sensors could detect the distinctive acoustic signatures produced by submarine propellers and machinery over remarkable distances. Combined with maritime patrol aircraft, surface warships, intelligence satellites, and fast attack submarines, NATO established a layered anti-submarine warfare network capable of tracking Soviet submarines from the moment they left their home ports. This network transformed the GIUK Gap into an enormous underwater observation zone where stealth, patience, and technology mattered more than sheer numbers. For the Soviet Union, breaking through the GIUK Gap was never simply a naval exercise. It formed a vital component of its nuclear deterrence strategy. Soviet ballistic missile submarines needed access to deep Atlantic waters to position themselves for potential nuclear retaliation against North America. Likewise, Soviet attack submarines aimed to shadow NATO carrier groups and threaten reinforcement convoys crossing the Atlantic. Every successful transit through the GIUK Gap increased Soviet operational flexibility, while every detected submarine reinforced NATO's strategic advantage. Thus, beneath the cold waters of the North Atlantic unfolded a silent contest that rarely attracted headlines, but remained one of the most dangerous military competitions of the 20th century. Following the collapse of the Soviet Union, many observers assumed that the strategic importance of the GIUK Gap had faded. Defense budgets declined, naval patrols were reduced, and anti-submarine warfare received less attention as NATO shifted its focus towards counter-terrorism and regional conflicts. For nearly 2 decades, the North Atlantic appeared comparatively peaceful, encouraging many policymakers to believe that large-scale naval competition belonged to history. However, history rarely remains static. Russia gradually modernized its northern fleet, introducing quieter submarines equipped with advanced propulsion systems, long-range cruise missiles, and improved stealth technologies. Simultaneously, Moscow re-emphasized the strategic importance of the Arctic, investing heavily in military infrastructure, icebreakers, airfields, and naval facilities across its northern coastline. The geopolitical landscape changed even more dramatically after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. NATO once again recognized the necessity of protecting the North Atlantic from renewed submarine activity. Maritime patrol aircraft resumed intensive operations, anti-submarine exercises increased in frequency, and alliance naval forces strengthened their presence around the GIUK Gap. The accession of Finland and Sweden to NATO further transformed the alliance's northern strategic posture. Together with Norway, Denmark, Iceland, and the United Kingdom, NATO now enjoys significantly enhanced coordination across Northern Europe, enabling improved intelligence sharing, surveillance, and operational planning throughout the region. Although Finland and Sweden do not directly control the GIUK Gap, their membership reinforces NATO's ability to monitor Russian naval movements from the Baltic Sea to the Arctic Ocean. Modern anti-submarine warfare has evolved far beyond traditional sonar detection. Today's maritime surveillance integrates satellites, unmanned underwater vehicles, seabed sensors, artificial intelligence, electronic intelligence, and network-centric command systems into a comprehensive detection architecture. Long-range maritime patrol aircraft such as the P-8 Poseidon can deploy sophisticated sonobuoys capable of locating submarines beneath the ocean surface. Nuclear-powered attack submarines silently shadow potential adversaries, while surface combatants equipped with advanced towed-array sonar systems patrol key transit routes. Together, these assets create a multi-layered surveillance network designed to reduce the freedom of movement enjoyed by hostile submarines. The GIUK Gap therefore represents not merely a geographical chokepoint, but a technologically sophisticated battle space, where information dominance is as valuable as firepower. The importance of the GIUK Gap extends well beyond military operations. The North Atlantic carries enormous volumes of global trade, connecting North America with Europe. Beneath these waters also lies an extensive network of undersea communication cables responsible for transmitting the overwhelming majority of international internet traffic, financial transactions, and digital communications. Any disruption to these critical infrastructures could have profound economic and strategic consequences. Consequently, protecting the GIUK Gap also means safeguarding the digital and economic arteries that sustain the modern global economy. This reality has expanded NATO's focus beyond conventional naval warfare to include the protection of critical underwater infrastructure against sabotage, espionage, and hybrid threats. Looking towards the future, the GIUK Gap is likely to become even more strategically significant. Climate change is increasing accessibility to Arctic waters, opening new shipping routes while simultaneously intensifying competition for natural resources and strategic influence. Russia continues to invest heavily in Arctic military capabilities, while China increasingly describes itself as a near-Arctic state with growing commercial and scientific interests in the region. These developments ensure that the North Atlantic will remain an arena of great power competition for decades to come. The GIUK Gap will continue serving as the principal maritime gateway linking the Arctic to the Atlantic, making it indispensable to the strategic calculations of every major naval power. Ultimately, the GIUK Gap demonstrates that geography remains one of the most enduring determinants of military power. Advanced technologies may transform warfare, but they cannot erase the strategic realities imposed by oceans, coastlines, and natural chokepoints. For NATO, controlling the GIUK Gap means protecting the transatlantic lifeline, preserving deterrence, and maintaining the ability to reinforce Europe during times of crisis. For Russia, successfully navigating this corridor remains essential for projecting naval power into the Atlantic and ensuring the operational effectiveness of its submarine fleet. As global competition intensifies and the oceans once again become central to international security, The silent waters between Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom will continue to shape the balance of power far more profoundly than their remote appearance might suggest. Thank you for watching Strategic Vanguard. If you found this analysis insightful, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others interested in geopolitics, naval strategy, and military affairs. Let us know in the comments which strategic choke point you would like us to analyze next. Until next time, stay informed, stay strategic, and keep exploring the forces that shape our world.